Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is an action movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie No Way Back. So this is one of Russell Crowe's earlier efforts and it's basically a kind of direct-to-video, fairly forgettable action film, but it's not terrible. The plot here centres around Russell Crowe, who is an FBI agent who is involved in a sting operation at the beginning of the episode to try and take down some kind of white supremacist arms dealer type people. And there's an operative, a Japanese lady played by Kelly Hu, who basically is trying to sort of go in undercover, sort of get evidence and what have you. However, she actually decides to mow down all of these sort of white supremacists, then kill herself. And people just think she's snapped and what have you. Russell Crowe's character tracks and leads down a fight. He may have actually had some ties to the Yakuza, and so she tracks down a kind of head Yakuza guy who he believes may have kind of somehow sort of corrupted her, just to try and find out what is going on. And it ends up getting himself in more trouble ultimately when the head of this sort of white supremacist group grabs his own son and asks him to bring the head of the Yakuza to him so he can execute him for the to get vengeance for his own son, or he'll murder Russell Crowe's son. And that's basically the remainder of the film. Obviously, you've got Russell Crowe sort of transporting this kind of head of this Yakuza, and along the way they kind of pick up Helen Slater's character, who's this kind of like dopey air hostess who manages to get involved in the whole thing. Now it's kind of a fun movie, but it's really one of these just very, very average kind of direct-to-video movies. There's the kind of realism is really sort of thrown out the window here. Now, if you're kind of a fan of like the Die Hard sequels, you kind of may get an idea about what the sort of thing I'm sort of talking about here. It is kind of fun, and it's Russell Crowe is really just not on top of his game at this point in his career, obviously. It is obviously a very sort of early role for him. But he's still quite a fun leading man to watch. And if you're kind of into sort of like your Yakuza cinema and that kind of thing, because the Yakuza are always pretty cool to watch on the screen, I think. Then I think the character's name is Yuji or something, and he's the kind of this head Yakuza. And ultimately, you can pretty much guarantee what will happen. They all kind of bond and ultimately sort of decide to sort of, help each other out and defeat the kind of the white supremacists and everything. But you think about this guy's meant to be an FBI agent, Russell Crowe's character, and he completely goes sort of off the rail, and ultimately his actions lead to a number of deaths, including more FBI agents and things like that, and police officers. You kind of think in kind of the 90s, when this film was kind of made, like the mid-90s, oh yeah, that's all just cloud, and we don't really think too much about that. Whilst these days, if you're kind of watching a film like that, you're thinking, hang on a second, this guy would be massively held accountable for that, because he pretty much done it off his own back, despite the fact, obviously, that his son was kidnapped. He didn't attempt to sort of try and get any help from the law whatsoever. But just for a forgettable action piece, as I say, it is quite fun. There is quite a nice sort of chemistry that kind of builds between the three kind of leads who end up these sort of unlikely allies. And one thing I did like about it, perhaps, is the kind of relationship between Serlano, who is kind of this head sort of white supremacist guy, and he's kidnapped Russell Crowe's son. Yet you actually almost see a kind of little bond developing between him and the son, and it's almost like in a way he doesn't want to sort of kill him. It makes him kind of not necessarily such a almost cookie cutter villain, but it's not really explored to any great depth. So I think maybe this film had some potential. There are some sort of funny moments in it. And like I said, if you just want a sort of a 90s forgettable action movie, you can do worse. But this is really just a very average film. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. Certainly not bad. If you just want a bit of a time waster, then you may want to check it out if you're a fan of the kind of like the Yakuza type movies like we've seen in the mid-90s, like the sort of Black Rain, American Yakuza, things like that. 5 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What are your thoughts? Leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.